it's curious for me because me growing up in South Africa to Italian parents, I was very fortunate to have a mother who was very open about sexuality. And uh gosh, she, I think already at, I think, age 4 or 5, was sitting down with me with the record. There was a particular record system that they had at that time that explained, you know, I guess birds and the bees and where babies come from and how these things sort of come about, but in a very, very, I think, nicely informative way that attended to my questions, but it didn't have to go into sort of adult language in that sense. And I think it's always the thing that's always served me in respect of being able to express my sexuality is having had that normalized very young. And I remember there was an instance where I had my best friend when I was 10 years old. He calls me up and he says, "Look, do you want to come over and watch a movie?" So I go over to his place, and the naivety of it makes me laugh. I go to his movie cabinet and I start pulling out all the VHSs, and there was Jurassic Park and Terminator, and he looks at me and he says to me, "No, no, I have a special movie for us to watch." And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? And he goes into his mother's cupboard and he pulls out this VHS, and I still remember the title. It was called Pizza Delivery Girls. And the theme in essence was these girls would deliver pizzas to whoever these guys were, and they would have sex with them. And it was such a shock for me because I guess growing up in quite a matriarchal family, sexuality, sensuality, being with women was very romanticized. It wasn't this, I guess, this visual that came into my head of, part of that is very much penetration. And here I watched this very British pornography, and it was just absolutely shocked. And I remember I went home and I sat down in the kitchen, and my mom kind of looked over at me. She was busy cooking, and she said to me, "What's up?" I said, "No, no, no, nothing." And she persisted, and I said to her eventually, I said, "Well, this is the thing that we watched." And all she said was, "Whatever you saw is perfectly normal." And that was the start of almost the next stage of my awakening and connecting with my sexuality and being allowed to actually be in that space without it having, I guess, the shame factor attached to it. And that's where I, at one point, wanted to be a gynecologist. So it opened up this whole world of being curious with the female form more than anything else. And I think one of the components when I'm working with clients in particular is how many people aren't curious. And that just baffles me. It's like, you have the most extraordinary being in front of you. Why wouldn't you want to know the ins and outs of how this person functions?
You've been very fortunate with your background, Massimo. That's I gave you a good base with things. I think for a lot of people, their religious background and just I came from a traditional Southern Baptist family, although my dad was very open-minded. In fact, it's funny, he apparently almost got, he was the top of his class in theology decades before I was born, working on his doctorate, and was working with a group to translate the Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek from some scrolls into, English. And basically what it was saying was the story of Adam and Eve. According to that, God didn't take man's rib. He took his penis bone, or it's called a bacula, because a lot of mammals have penis bones.
Yep.
But apparently that almost got him kicked out of, he had to rewrite his whole thesis because that's what it was based on. But the religious upbringing can have a huge impact. And in Asian cultures, it's very, very conservative frequently, at least the ones I've encountered. I think for guys, a lot of times it's a combination of shame and sometimes arrogance. Sometimes they think they're the solution and this is all that the woman needs. And if the woman doesn't say anything to the contrary, they just don't know.